Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, March 12th, 2026 edition of Douglas Now Live. I'm Robert Preston Jr. here in our Douglas Now studios on West Walker Street in Douglas. Have a couple of stories would like to go over with you tonight. Leading off, and I was about to say that this was hot off the presses, kind of hot off the presses, in a manner of speaking. Dr. Morris Lease, Superintendent of Coffee County Schools, has announced his retirement effective June 30th, 2026, basically at the end of the school year, a little bit beyond the end of the year. We made a brief announcement on this on our Facebook page a couple of days ago, and we called it a developing story because we knew there would be a larger narrative posted about Dr. Lease and about his accomplishments and contributions here to the Coffee County school system. And that story came in today, and we just posted it a few minutes before we came on. When I heard Dr. Lease was retiring, a couple of things popped into my mind. First of all, Dr. Lease has been very positive for our school system. And I know when you have a position like superintendent of schools, not everyone is going to like you, and people are going to hurl criticisms and that kind of thing. And I understand that. And some of that was reflected in the comments on our initial post. But when you look at where the Coffee County school system has been, where it is now in terms of facilities, in terms of athletics, in terms of respect, I think that you can't come to any other conclusion except that Dr. Lease's 15 years as Coffee County School Superintendent. First of all, it's one of the longest tenures of any superintendent that we've had, that it has been overwhelmingly positive. All right. And I remember talking to Dr. Lease years ago, and I think he would admit this. And we did a story, I believe we did a magazine story, and it was during that interview. And I've always remembered this, that Dr. Lease was a student at Georgia Southern University and not taking his education particularly seriously. And one day, sitting in his apartment in Statesboro, he had an aha moment where he realized he needed to make some changes and do some different things. And that shift in focus led him down the path that he's been on for the last 32 years or so. And I'm going to tell you, it's hard. It's hard to do what he did. He grew up in Coffee County, graduate of Coffee High School. He's about 4 years older than I am. We were in high school together at the same time, but I believe he was a senior when I was a freshman. So weren't really friends, but our families were friends. We knew each other. But to leave and come back to your alma mater and stay here for 15 years, and lead the school system in the manner in which he has is pretty significant. And I think we take for granted the leadership that he's given us. And I thought about the facilities. I mean, that for whatever reason, the first thing I thought about was facilities. And in the story that we just posted, if you haven't read it, you need to take a look at it. One of the first bullet point items here is facilities modernization. And new schools: Broxton, Mary Hayes Elementary, Nichols Elementary, West Green Elementary, Wiregrass Regional College and Career Academy, construction of the Clayton Mathis Performing Arts Center, the Billy Walker Agricultural Center, the multipurpose facility, the what we call the indoor practice facility, but the NJROTC multipurpose indoor facility, and the new Coffee County Board of Education office. Also had major renovations at Coffee High School, Eastside Elementary, and the George Washington Carver freshman campus. You have athletic facilities, tennis, track, and a new weight room facility. Listen, what these do, you take them in their totality, and the entire look or image or whatever word you want to use of the Coffee County school system has changed for the better. The system looks a lot different than it did just a few years ago. Athletic success, of course, you've got the state football championship from a couple of years ago, but you have multiple region championships in the other sports. plenty of banners are hanging now on the at the gym and at the various facilities that we've got here. So we've had academic success, we've had athletic success, but there's something else that's not mentioned here. And I wanted to talk about this for just a few minutes because I think this is important. Now, you can't really, I don't think it would be fair and maybe not even appropriate to hang this all on Dr. Lease, but it came under Dr. Lease's watch. It came under his leadership. And if he didn't want it, if he wanted to stop this, he could have, all right? But we're a few years removed now, and we may not all remember that the piece of property that the Douglas Square Shopping Center, Hobby Lobby, Publix, Longhorn Steakhouse, Chick-fil-A, the other businesses on that tract of land, that was Coffee County School System property. The old high school was there. Of course, if you're of a certain age, you went to school in that facility, like I did. The Board of Education central office sat where Longhorn Steakhouse is now. The track was where Publix is. All right, that was a big open lot. And the school board realized a few years ago how valuable that piece of property was. And it took a series of discussions, and somebody had to come up with the idea, but it was a pretty major project to relocate the Board of Education central office to a new spot. And of course, it's out by Coffee High School now. That in and of itself transformed that area of downtown, just moving the central office away. All right. But look at what's there. That property was dead. I mean, it was just dead. It served no purpose. The school system used the high school for what they could, but and this is a bad part about these old buildings because they are historic and there's a lot of sentimental attachment to these buildings. But there comes a time where if you don't want to spend millions and millions of dollars to renovate, that the buildings become useless, particularly when you think of some of the materials, i.e. asbestos, that was used in those buildings when they were constructed. And it really, I hate to say it, but buildings like that can become a blight on the community. The school system did the best they could with it, but anytime there was an office there, it seemed like it was, just let's stick something over here and use it because it's there. It's not really, the best place to put it, but we got the space. So the school system's approval of selling that property, of making that property available for retail enterprise is one of the most significant things that's happened in Coffee County in a long time. And I was talking about transforming the school system just a minute ago. That transformed our city. That transformed our county. And now maybe it's been so long we sort of take for granted that stuff is there. But if you would have told me 6 or 7 years ago that I could go eat at Chick-fil-A or Longhorn Steakhouse, go over to PetSmart, buy my dog food, and then go grocery shopping at Publix, and not leave first of all, not leave Coffee County, but two, not go more than about 300 yards away from those three businesses, I would have laughed in your face. And I'm not the only one. A lot of other people would have too. And a lot of folks were involved in that project. Of course, the city commission is who ultimately approved it. And, we don't remember the controversy now about the tax allocation district, but that was a big deal because it's under that umbrella that property got developed. But the school system made it available and agreed to move the central office. And you could make a very successful argument that the school system had outgrown that office and it needed to be moved. But to make that available, to agree to move the office, build another new construction, and then the city, of course, approving the tax allocation district so that those businesses could be built there. And then the developers coming in and having faith in our community that it would work out. It's a pretty phenomenal project. And, we're sitting here right now, looking on it and thinking, well, that's just the way it's always been, but it's not. It's not. If you haven't been in Douglas 10 years, you don't remember what it was like. That was just a big open space with this gigantic brick building and this parking lot that was chipping away, and vegetation starting to grow up in it. It was a bad spot. It hurt my heart a little bit to see it torn down. It really did. I had some good times there. My friends and I had a really good time, probably too good of a time there. I probably should have been a little more serious about my schoolwork than I was. But, that happened under Dr. Lisa's watch. These other buildings have been built under Dr. Lisa's watch. We've seen some significant changes for the better under his leadership. So change is good. We knew this was going to happen. And when I say change is good, he's been here for 15 years. He served his 30 years. There are other things he would like to accomplish. So let's build upon the successes and build upon the foundation that he laid, and let's continue to go in the right direction in the Coffee County school system. But Dr. Lisa's been talking about retiring for a while. And if you follow the school system, if you pay attention, you know how long he's been here. He's, he probably wouldn't want me saying this, but he's not far away from 60 years old. So it's time to retire. All right. Change is scary, but it's not necessarily bad. And I don't say that because we want to see Dr. Lise go. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he has certainly made a positive impact on our community, on our school system, on our way of life here in Douglas and Coffee County. And it's time for him to enjoy the fruits of that and retire. Although I have a feeling in his retirement, he is not going to be inactive at all. I don't think he's going to sit around and do nothing. So we will see what the next chapter holds. While he is getting close to 60, 60 is by no means a time when you just put your feet up and begin to, that you don't have any purpose anymore. Far from it. He has a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience from which to draw to continue to serve the people of Coffee County and also the education community in our state. So, Dr. Lise, thank you for what you've done here in Douglas and Coffee County. We wish you the very best moving forward. We started our day with a tornado warning. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We'll be right back. When someone is injured in an accident, they need three things: answers, a plan, and a legal team they can trust. That's what you get at the law office of Bruce Edwards in Douglas, along with a healthy dose of old school toughness and modern strategy to boot. We are here to help. Give us a call and let us work for you. Welcome back. Thought we were going to have a nice, uneventful morning today, but I was on my way into town shortly before 8 o'clock when I got a weather alert. We were under a tornado watch until 8:30 this morning. I was doing what I do, sitting, working on my computer, looking out a window, watching the weather, and all of a sudden around 8:15, out of nowhere, the weather took a turn for the worse. And when I say a turn for the worse, all of a sudden the wind's blowing. There's some stuff outside I'm looking at. I got trash cans going by the window. It was pretty substantial. And I was actually at South Georgia State College at the time. And I was worried if something wasn't fixing to come through the glass where I was. And it was actually a tornado warning. And it was more for the southern portion of Coffee County. And again, South Georgia State College is on the south end of the city, getting down toward the Coffee-Atkinson County line. There was significant damage. Now, there's always a debate as to exactly what kind of weather system it is. All right. Is it a tornado? There was rotation on the radar. Was it a tornado? Did it touch down? What exactly happened? And you know what? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. There were some homes that got destroyed. There were some people who suffered some significant damage and some significant inconvenience in the aftermath of this storm. Thankfully, it did not last very long. I do know at Indian Creek Elementary, They got kids in the hallway. Remember doing the tornado drills? You got out of the classroom and in the hallway, and they did that. I know my dad is at Lakeside Senior Living. They got them out in the hallway as well, delayed breakfast for a little while. You know how grumpy old folks get when you delay their meals. So that didn't go over very well, but they were taking safety precautions all over our community this morning. And this picture here, this is a mobile home that was being transported on Highway 441 this morning between Douglas and Pearson, actually in Atkinson County, and it was blown over, and you can see suffered significant damage on the side of the road. The winds were pretty high. It was pretty substantial. And of course, it brings back all the memories from Helene. It brings back all the memories from the tornadoes that hit the southern portion of Coffee County just a few years ago, damage that can still be seen. You know, we talk about how long it's going to be before we completely recover from Helene. Well, we still have damage from those tornadoes. I know Bay Meadows was hit hard. There were some areas around there. You can still see that. People ride by and they may think, well, that happened in Helene. No, that happened a couple of years before. So once communities are damaged, it takes a while for them to recover. But I saw a message out of Atlanta. Ag Commissioner Tyler Harper was watching this very closely. And this, of course, is a pivotal time for our farmers. The growing season is just beginning. You don't want anything like this happening right now. You know, it's been one seemingly disaster after another here, some type of weather event over the last few years. Thankfully, we didn't have a big, very active hurricane season here in our area. Thank goodness. But whether it's a tornado, whether it's these spring storms, and the weather gets really volatile here. And this is one of the things, you know, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about with the weather. And I'm not smart enough to understand it. I'm not smart enough to try to break it down with what's happening with atmospheric conditions here and climate there. But I can tell you this, I don't seem to remember the extremes in weather that we have now. The days that are cold during the wintertime are really cold. The days that are hot in the summertime are really hot. And when you have some changing weather conditions like we do around the changing of seasons, when it can be really cold one day and really hot the next day, you can get some extremely active weather systems. You can get some extremely volatile weather. And I don't remember seeing these swings in the weather when I was growing up. And again, I'm not smart enough to try to cast some type of diagnosis on why that is happening. Is it man-made? A lot of people think that. Is it just natural cycles in the weather? Because we do know that over time, however long you think the earth has been here, the weather has not remained constant. It's been up and down. We've had periods of warmth, we've had ice ages, we've had everything in between. And all of those different periods and all of those different weather systems have shaped the world in which we live. And that is going to continue to happen. All right. It's going to continue to happen. So again, I'm not 100% sure exactly what's going on, but I can tell you this. It seems to be that there are more extreme swings than there used to be. But what happened this morning was pretty wild. And it made me nervous. I was glad I was at the college in the building I was in, but I was close to a lot of glass. And I was about to run for the hallways. But yeah, again, and people will debate, you know, was it a burst? Was it a tornado? Did the tornado touch down? Does it matter? Does it really matter? There was a lot of damage, and people posted that stuff all over social media. We had a thread going on our page where people were posting their damage and talking about it, what areas were hardest hit. But it brings back so many memories, and I'm a little skittish. I'm not going to lie. When I hear about a weather system coming in, I remember what Helene was like very well. We all do. Of course, I don't have any trees in my yard anymore. There's not a tree in my yard. If a tree comes through my house, something really powerful happened. All right. Something really bad happened for a tree to get through my house. And that's the way a lot of us are. It completely transformed our landscape. It completely transformed our yards. It completely, in some cases, transformed our homes. And events like this, we see the fury of nature all over again, but it happens so quickly. So not any serious injuries or anything reported, not huge widespread damage, just more localized. And that's what you see with a system like this. Tornadoes and these severe thunderstorms follow a pretty narrow path. So the damage can be significant, but it's usually in a smaller area. And particularly if you could see an aerial shot, you can see the path of the storm. And, just a little bit on either side of that path will have little to no damage, but in the middle of that path will be significant. It's not like a tornado, not like a hurricane where, you've got hundreds of miles that are covered by the storm and can be affected. So again, thankful nobody suffered any serious damage this morning, but it was scary for a few minutes. It really was. And I'm a little more jittery now than I was pre-Helene. So glad everybody was okay. I want to come back in just a second and do a sports update. I have some pretty good sports news. It's a little premature to announce that we are on championship watch, but we're getting close. And hopefully before the weekend is over, we will be on championship watch. I will explain in just a second. We'll be right back. When someone is injured in an accident, they need three things: answers, a plan, and a legal team they can trust. That's what you get at the law office of Bruce Edwards in Douglas, along with a healthy dose of old school toughness and modern strategy to boot. We are here to help. Give us a call and let us work for you. It has been a banner year, if you will, for basketball in Douglas and Coffee County. Two teams played for state championships, CCA men, CCA women. Of course, we talked about the Coffee Lady Trojans that went to the Final Four and almost stole one from Milton to make the finals. We have one team still alive. South Georgia State College Hawks are in the semifinals of the Georgia Collegiate Athletic Association after defeating the Georgia Highlands Chargers 72-62 Tuesday night in Waycross. The two teams were tied at halftime. The score was not at 32-32. Then the Hawks had a strong second half and outscored the Chargers by 10. They outscored them 40-30 in the second half, en route to a 72-62 win. Reggie White led the Hawks with 21 points. He had 6 assists and 5 rebounds. Jeremy Anderson had a double-double with 17 points and 15 rebounds. I do believe this is Mr. Anderson right here. Number 5, he also had 3 assists. Day Thomas had 8 points. Trey Calloway, 7 points. Aaron Jones scored 6 points. And Dominic Wright scored 3 points. The Hawks were 50% from three-point range. I want to say they were 5 for 10. I think that's what it was. It was 5 for 10 from behind the arc, and they shot 68% from the free throw line. Now, they're in the semifinals. That game's going to be played up at Central Georgia Tech in Macon tomorrow. That would be Titans Arena. They play at 8 p.m. They're going to play the South Georgia Tech Jets. South Georgia Tech defeated Albany Tech 60-59 Tuesday night. So maybe that game took quite a bit out of South Georgia Tech, and the Hawks can take advantage of that. So the Hawks are doing a phenomenal job. They started out really slow. They got off to the season, I hate to say a bad start, but it was a bad start. And then they turned around and finished the season on like a 17-3 run or something like that. They won a pile of games down the stretch. And they were able to recover from a very, very poor start. Coach Corey Baldwin has done a phenomenal job with these kids this year. Now, what happens next? All right, because I believe the finals will also be played in at Central Georgia. So what happens next is the two winners tomorrow night will play each other for the finals. Whoever wins first in the conference will go to the NJCAA National Tournament in Hutchinson, Kansas. The Hawks went last year, and if they win, they're 2 wins away from going back again. So That would be pretty cool. And they've been, I think, last year was 3 trips in 5 years, I want to say, something like that. So the Hawks have had a really good run in basketball over the last few years. They've done extremely well, and they're poised again to make a run at the national tournament out there in Kansas. So good luck to the Hawks. We will announce that we are on championship watch pending the outcome of tomorrow night's game. If the Hawks can win, of course, we will let everyone know. But I hope I get to say it again before the end of this school year that we are on championship watch. Let's go Hawks. Let's take care of business tomorrow. Beat the Jets, and then win one more, and let's go to Kansas. One of the 2 NFL players with connections to Coffee County has a new team. Kentavious Street, who played his 9th grade here in Douglas and Coffee County. He was raised here. And after his 9th grade year, I believe it was, he moved to North Carolina with his mother, ended up graduating from high school up there, went to North Carolina State, and then was drafted, I believe, in 2018 or something like that. Maybe a 4th or 5th round pick. He has a new team. He's been with the Atlanta Falcons for the last 3 years, but he is now a member of the Chicago Bears. It's the free agent period in the NFL that's been quite active for a lot of teams. The Falcons have actually done quite a bit of free agency. Not always good, but they've done quite a bit. And one thing that they did, they've signed a lot of players, but they've also lost a few. And Kentavious was one of the players that the Falcons lost. He's played with the San Francisco 49ers, New Orleans Saints, and Philadelphia Eagles before coming to the Falcons. Last year, he started the year on the practice squad, but over midseason, he was signed to the 53-man roster. He played in 7 games. And during his time with the Falcons, this is over 3 years, he's got 50 tackles and 4 sacks. For his career, he's played in 85 games with 10 starts, recorded 125 tackles, 24 tackles for loss, and 10.5 sacks. This move to Chicago is a depth move for the Bears, right? And Kentavious is not guaranteed a roster spot. He's going to have to fight it out, but he's got a lot of experience in the trenches, and defensive linemen are, of course, an extremely valuable commodity. And here's to us hoping that he does, in fact, get a roster spot and continues his NFL career. So, yeah, it's good to see one of our own continuing to do well, continuing to contribute at the highest level. Our other NFL player is, of course, Tyreek Hill, who is recovering from a catastrophic knee injury he suffered last season. The Dolphins cut him a few weeks ago. Nobody has picked him up yet. He will ultimately land with a team. They're watching a little bit more of the rehab to see what happens. He will be with an NFL team sooner rather than later, but he remains unsigned as of right now. In other sports news, and we've got a story to put up about this, the Coffee High track team is doing extremely well this year. We have had several school records broken. I want to recognize Miss Kaylani Stiles here at the Andy Bateman Invitational a week or so ago in Tifton. She set 2 new school records. She set one record in the 100-meter hurdles and then the other in the 300-meter hurdles. The 100-meter hurdles record, she ran a time of 15.01 seconds. That was a 0.22 seconds improvement, which I believe she set last year. So she broke her own record that she set as a sophomore. She also broke the 300-meter hurdle record, which was held by Sharisa Brockington. The old record was 46.53 seconds. She improved that to 46.41 seconds. She set a new personal record in the 200 meters with a 26.43. That was good for a 7th place finish. She was also the anchor leg of the 4x200 relay. And they ran a time of 1 minute and 48.27 seconds. That was good for a 2nd place finish. So congratulations to Miss Stiles. She is just a junior. She is going to break this record again. it's going to fall again. And there were some other really good performances. And when I do this, I know we're not going to mention everybody. Inslee Crawford had another really good race. She was first in the 3,200 meters, which is close to 2 miles, not exactly, but close to a 2-mile run. There were several other personal bests as well. So congratulations to the Coffee High Track team. Again, congratulations to Miss Stiles for what she did. Anytime you break a record, it is a significant accomplishment. And we are seeing, I mentioned this, we talked a couple of weeks ago about this, you're seeing some records fall in the endurance sports, right? Track and field, cross country, swimming. You're seeing a lot of that happen, and particularly in the area of track, particularly women's track. Now, the reason you don't see a lot of records broken in men's track is because who holds most of the men's records, or a lot of the men's records? That would be Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek did not only have, elite level speed for our region or our area, but he had elite level speed across the world. So some of those men's records that Tyreek has are pretty safe. They're pretty safe. So men who are running track, the sprinters, sorry, you're going to have to be a really special talent to break some of those records. Now, the distance records could fall when you get on up into some of those longer runs. Those records are there for the taking. So it's always neat to see records get broken. And Miss Stiles, she did that in Tifton the other day. 2 new school records, pretty cool in the hurdle. And the hurdles are hard. The 300 hurdles are no joke. That's a hard race, all right? And I'm not saying the 100 meters is easy, but the 300 meters is no joke. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. So congratulations to Miss Stiles and to the Coffee High Track team on a fantastic performance. And also they're having a really good season as well. Let's take a look at our tower cam again. It's just night. We don't get to see much, but the tower cam's there. And I want to show it. I did think about it this morning with the weather. All right. I said when that weather hit, I was like, I wish I could get to the studio and go hit the tower cam. I would love to have seen what that weather system looked like rolling through here. And we're sort of looking back to the southeast a little bit off of the tower cam. And it would have been neat to have seen that, but I was unable to get up here. So I don't want any bad weather to hit. I don't want people to think that. I don't want to see us hit with another bad weather system. But if a weather system does hit, I want to be where I can get to the tower cam and let's take a look at it. Be a little more exciting than watching the lights flash in the background there and the couple of lights on the houses here. Not as many lights as usual. We're a little bit later than we normally are. So yeah, tower cam, it's just dark. Tomorrow, everybody, I would be remiss if I did not mention this. It is Friday the 13th. In fact, according to the clock on my computer, in 53 minutes, it will be Friday the 13th. Y'all know, makes me a little nervous. Makes me a little nervous, Friday the 13th does. I just try to be careful. I try to be a little more attentive to what I'm doing, a little more aware of my surroundings and aware of the situations in which I am putting myself on Friday the 13th. And I went ahead and looked, because I know you're wondering, everybody's wondering. We have one more Friday the 13th this year, and it is in November. We get close a couple of times. We've got a Friday the 12th a few times. We've got a Friday the 14th. But we do not have another Friday the 13th until November, and it is the only one of the year. So I've actually got a busy day tomorrow. And I've got a lot to do, so I'll be extremely careful. So hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your evening. And then as we head into the weekend, I hope everyone has a great weekend there as well. This is my wife's birthday weekend. She was born on March 15th. So Sunday is her birthday. I will not tell you how old she is, but this will likely be the last time that we meet before her birthday. So I would like to wish her an early birthday. And I say an early birthday, it's really not that early. All right. March the 1st is the beginning of what we call at our house Heather Palooza. She celebrates her workout the entire month. So while it is a little bit early from her actual birth date, it is not too early at all to recognize or celebrate her birthday. We have to do that every single day of the month of March. It is a mandate in our house. So yes, we're in the middle of Heather Palooza right now. But Heather was born on the Ides of March. If you don't know what the Ides of March are and why that is significant, I will leave that to you to look up. It's pretty neat. I am a huge geek when it comes to Roman and Greek history, and ended up marrying someone who was born on the Ides of March. Always pretty cool. I think about that each year. That's one thing that helps me remember her birthday as well, because it is on the Ides of March. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time.